Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dental Momentum Podcast powered by Duckett Ladd Dental CPAs and Advisors. Jared Duckett back at you with my business partner, Bill Ladd. And Bill, me and you today, my friend.
Just the two of us, man, and we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, no, this is going to be fun. We got a really cool, we've really been thinking about this lately, and we've been doing the let's call it the Duckett Ladd thing, right? For a little over, I guess we're about 5.5 years
Yeah.
into this. I mean, we kind of started around May 1st, give or take, of 2015. Is that right? Feels
Yeah.
like it was forever ago, but it was only 5 years. But kind of sitting and reminiscing about this a bit. And, if you think about Bill, 5.5 years ago, a lot has changed since then. And that's kind of what we want to dive into today is, exactly what's different, and Bill, you can kind of comment on this, but really May 1st, 2015. I mean, we had an existing firm. Don't get us wrong. I mean, we had existing clients and team members and everything in place, but really from that point to today, we've made a lot of transitions.
Yeah. I mean, you go back in time, that it's really an interesting time period because it was 2005 when I actually left a larger firm and joined the firm that was a predecessor to Duckett Ladd. And we were there 10 years. And then, you and I negotiated out and bought and formed Duckett Ladd in May of 2015. So we were there 10 years, and now we've got 5 years under our belt. And you're right, all things considered, sometimes it feels like 10 or 15. But I think some of the most important discoveries that we've had in our career were made these last 5 years. Things that honestly we wish we could have gone back and known back in 2005. You just never know where you would be. So it's fun to look back and reminisce. It's also fun to say, hey, we got ways to go, but when you kind of look at what they call the gap in the gain, you can always look and see how far you have to go. But sometimes it's good to look back and say, you know what, we've come a long way too. And I think that's important. And I think there's some good lessons to be learned today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's well said. We have come a long way and achieved a lot. And really what we wanted to do today, I mean, we're specifically speaking to dental offices out there and dental practice owners, but we really thought, well, what would we, I guess, boil down to around 10 or so things that we see we've implemented or done differently in this 5 years that directly correlates to almost any business.
For
I mean,
sure.
and it's, we're talking what we did as a CPA firm, but we're going to talk about broad principles here that we implemented that I think, you dental practice owners can probably think, hey, I'm not doing that, or, oh yeah, that's a good, good thought. I need to talk about that. So this is all going to pertain to you guys for sure.
I mean, I think all of us love a good checklist. That's kind of how we're wired, but dentists, are wired to diagnose, and we're big believers in self-diagnosis. Take a listen to these. Some of them are going to speak to you, some of them maybe not, but take that checklist and try to give yourself a grade. How we feeling on these? Again, guys, this is our experience. We feel like this is something that made our firm what it is today and what we're building. And we do think they're universal concepts that could apply to any business. There's going to be some you're probably strong at, some you're weak, but take some time and give yourself some honest assessment. I think you'll find there may be some areas you can focus on that really will help you. And guys, understand, we continually try to evaluate ourselves and make ourselves better. We're not resting on our laurels. We certainly see ways that we can improve. But these are some concepts, I think, that, again, if they're not really something that you focus on, you might take a look at them. They would make you better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it disclaim that what you just said. I mean, we don't have this all figured out by any means. We're constantly getting better every single day, but let's jump in, Bill. So the first
Sure.
one, I've got these written down here on my screen. So this one is absolutely huge. And it's basically the growth mindset.
Yeah.
And what we mean by that is just constantly having that growth mindset, constantly wanting to learn, constantly wanting to get better, constantly try to study what other people are doing, reading books, the list goes on. And Bill, this to me started to a degree, and I want your opinion too, but really started with Entree Leadership
Yeah.
and the summit. You know what I mean? And what we're speaking there is Dave Ramsey's Entree Leadership. He wrote the book, but they have this summit that they do annually and bring in a bunch of big name speakers. But I remember we went to that first year, been several years ago, probably 4 years, something like that. And hearing all these individuals speak and talking about, I remember John Maxwell was on there and he was talking
Yeah.
about constantly maybe spending an hour a day or whatever is what he said. And we kind of came out of that, and I'm going to say changed. I mean, it's literally switched our mindsets to literally think about the growth mindset and how we could get better.
Yeah. Our worldview changed in 3 days. And, I like to talk when I'm talking to accounting students, and I think it's same with dental students too, is that you work so hard for so many years learning and growing as a student, that when you graduate, the last thing you want to do is keep trying to be inquisitive and to learn and to continue to try to grow your knowledge base and as a human being. So it's really easy just to kind of shut down and get dialed in on your technical skills and just have that as kind of your fallback. And I ashamed to admit I did that for many, many years. I mean, it was from the time I graduated, until about the time we started Duckett Lad and we went to this EntreLeadership, that my eyes were open that there's a lot of great things that you can still get out of this life and out of your business and out of your practice if you just look at the world a bit different. You open your ears and mind to some concepts that maybe seem foolish to us in the past, in our previous cynical selves. I mean, I think we've all kind of been there. So everything we talk about, the foundational concept you have to understand is you have to change your mindset to have a growth mindset, to want to become better. I've heard people say, become a better version of yourself than you were the day before. I mean, it's not overly complicated, but it's not very easy either. And it takes a commitment. And this is really what set the stage for us to build the firm that we're building here. And, I think it's important. I think it really helps some of those dentists out there who are struggling if they at least start opening their mind to those concepts.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the day you graduate college or the day you graduate dental school does not need to be the last time you learn something or the last time you educate yourself. And we're not specifically talking to CE out there. So yeah, you go out constantly, you're learning a new procedure and going out and doing new CE to try to implement a new service. We're talking about that, but also on top of that growth mindset, meaning going out and reading books and listening to people and increase, let's say your leadership skills.
100%. Yeah.
You as a business owner, yeah, you're wearing a lot of hats. You're the technician, you're in the business doing the technical skills, but also you're leading that team. You're the business owner, you're showing them, where you're going to go. So you have to learn those principles, because first off, they're not taught in dental school.
Right.
So you have to learn them after you get out of dental school. So there's no way that can be the last time you learn. That's just, I wouldn't say the beginning, because you probably should start on D1, when you're starting to learn that, but constantly have that growth mindset. That's probably, I don't know if it's the biggest impact out of all these 10 we're going to talk about, but it's got to be up there as one of the biggest in our firm.
It's the glue that binds them all together.
Yeah.
If you don't have this, then you probably or you don't want this, then it's probably might as well turn it off, because I don't think these other ones are going to come together for you. You have to have some elasticity in your brain and be willing to bend it and to push yourself to become it. And I do like that concept of leadership. I mean, that's a really great way to look at it. Is as a practice owner, you are in charge of people and you're in charge of their livelihood, and that's a sacred responsibility that should not be taken lightly. And this is the thing that can really set you on a good course to making other people's lives better, is through this growth mindset. So I think it's foundational, Jared. I really do.
Yeah, for sure. And so if you're listening out there and you're like, man, I really don't have that, I've never really thought about it, start small. Pick up a book, start reading something, but more importantly, surround yourself with other individuals that have a growth mindset as well, and you're going to pick that up, to be honest. So
for sure.
All right, number 2, and this is a big one, any single business, but number 2 is the mission of your business. What is that mission? What is your why? And Bill, I'll go back. I'm going to hit on all examples, these podcasts here, but going back to, I think you were the individual that came to me and probably slacked it to me or emailed it to me and said, hey dude, watch this video.
Yeah.
Watch this video, and kind of hit on, Bill, I mean, what was the video? What did it do?
Yeah, it's one of those lightning bolt moments, and most of people listening probably have heard of it, have seen it, but it's the TED Talk, Start with Why. It was all the way back in 2008, I think is when he did it. It's got 40 plus million views. I think it's one of the highest, if not the highest rated TED Talks ever. And, it hit us right as we were kind of expanding our mindset and our growth mindset. And it really was a very simple concept, but, the gist of it, for those who don't know, is, people don't buy what you do, they buy, what's more important to them is why you do it and why they should care about that. And I think that, we have all been part of businesses, at least in the accounting world, that had what would be a mission statement or whatever, but I promise you, most people couldn't recite it, and it probably had something to do with technical skills or honesty and integrity, but it didn't speak to anybody. And I remember, us as we were kind of grappling with this as a firm, we really didn't have that North Star, the ultimate North Star. This is who we are, period. This is where we're going as far as we call it the North Star again, that mission, that purpose. And I remember once we heard that, I think it started us on a path to seeking out that and trying to figure out what our why was and why it was important and why anybody else should care. And once we did that, I think that was the second foundational step that fell into place for us that really set us on a different trajectory.
Yeah. And, not to say before we did not have a mission statement or a mission of the business, because we did. But I think the problem of it to a degree was it didn't state our why.
Right.
It stated what we do.
Exactly.
So you listening out there today, you're probably thinking, well, guys, get past this one. I have a mission. I have a mission statement. It's in our employee manual. We have it. I agree. And what I would ask you to do is go back and read it. And read it slowly, read it out loud, read it to your team member, your spouse, whatever. Does it tell you, or does it say why you do what you do? Don't let it say what you do. Why do you do what you do? And once you get that crystallized and then get the team on board behind it, then everything you do after that is filtered through that mission. That is why you do what you do. And ours, we strive every day, our mission, we strive every day to make the lives of our team members and clients better, plain and simple. We want to make our team members better, our clients better, and improve their lives. So every single service we try to provide through here, we filter it through that. Is this service improving their life? Can we make their life better? If you would have asked me 5 years ago, 6 years ago, if accountants could actually make team members and clients' lives better, I would have been like, all right, let's go. We got to get stuff done. We got to, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? But once you get that, going back to the growth mindset, you get a mindset shift, you figure out why you do what you do, what gets you out of bed every morning, and you get that crystallized and get the whole team on board, you can do so much in a short amount of time. So don't just check this one off. Think about it. Think about that mission, because we had one. But it wasn't just explaining the why, it was explaining the what.
This is what gets you out of bed in the morning. And if it doesn't get you excited, then how in the world is it going to get anybody else excited? I remember when we started really crystallizing this, I talked to a young dentist who was such an awesome person. And their why was so crystal clear because of an experience they had where they saw, how dental work changed somebody's life. And literally, and I think dentists take that for granted. Coming from a guy who's had dental work done that's made my confidence 10 times better, I'm telling you, it's there. It should be, at least to us, it's extremely obvious why dentists should be doing what they're doing. And it's important to note that it needs to be something that gets you excited, but it also needs to be something that gets other people excited. If not, if it's to make money, that's not good enough. That's not going to work. That's not going to be something that helps you build up a team, which is something we'll be talking about here shortly. So this one, right after that growth mindset, man, if you can dial this in and communicate it and live it out every single day, I promise you it will make you a better practice, without doubt.
And you said a key point there, Simon Sinek, with the video says this as well, is your why is not to make money. I have one gentleman I talk to all the time, and he always says, Jared, my why is to make more money. That's my why. And I'm like, no, that's not right. And he's like, no, that's what gets me out of bed. I get that. I said, but that money is a byproduct of something else that you're doing. Okay. So money, a lot of you out there might be thinking, yeah, I'm working, Jared. I got to make a living. Think harder. Think harder. Money is a byproduct of that why. It's not your why to the entirety. Number 3, Bill, this one's, I'm trying to think back. So this core values are extremely, I mean, so important. It's unreal. And again, I'm going to go back to, we were getting Duck It Lad off the ground. I mean, we were literally getting, we were in that first quarter, if you will, almost of 2015, still working through tax season and trying to negotiate a purchase, and then starting the Duck It Lad. And I remember one night you emailed me a document, and that document outlined our core values and what you thought core values. And we kind of tweaked them and stuff since then. But I'm not going to lie, I'm transparent as you get. I looked at that and I was like, core values. Bill, we're trying to figure out how to get this thing up and running, and you're talking about core values. And now if you talk to me about the importance of core values is everything.
Right.
Core values are the rules we play by. And that's what we filter. I go back to the mission. We filter everything through the core values as well. So Bill, hit on core values. Going back, I'm trying to think, I don't even know if we had core values before. Maybe we did. I know everybody didn't know them if we had them, but hit on core values. Just how important are those?
Yeah. So, most everybody probably has them. Some of them may be sitting on a wall. It's probably your usual suspects: honesty, integrity, all these things. And honestly, those are kind of permission to play. I mean, should be a bare minimum. I mean, that should be a reasonable expectation. Everybody comes in is going to be honest and have integrity. So what happens is those become white noise. People tune them out, and they're just something that looks good on a wall. So I remember, when you were talking about that, when we first started, I actually remember walking my dog down our lane, and for some reason, these things just started coming to me. And I think it was just kind of through some of the experiences we had gone through, and what we wanted to build and what we wanted to avoid. We just kind of started shipping some of these out. And you're right, we iterated them. Some of them have been scrapped, some of them have been revised, some of them have kept, from that day one. But what it does is it gives you the filter, and it gives you the permission to hold people accountable to your core values. And that's another key concept. If you don't use them to hold people accountable, if you don't hold people accountable to them, then they are worthless. They're just wall decorations or something that you can put on a paperweight or something that just does nothing. But done well, everybody should be evaluated through the core values. That should not just what they do, their key results areas, but their core values. Are they living and breathing core values? And I think once we really understood not just the importance of having them, but living them out every day, giving permission to your team to call you out in front of everybody else if you're not living them out, and then evaluating people accordingly. That's one of the things that has really taken our team. It's evolved. A lot of people, weren't interested in that or didn't fit and moved on. But the team that's left that buys into those core values when they're right and done well, I'm telling you what, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and we're going to get to it a little later as a point regarding the team to a degree, but the core values, if you have the right core values in place in your business, and your entire team checks off that they're living out those core values, you're going to have a rock star organization.
Yep.
Hands down. And that's it's twofold, because that's really how you're going to get the core team in place. And everybody out there right now, and probably you close your eyes, whatever, think about your team. You probably got one or two individuals that you're like, they're a tough one. Do you have core values in place? If not, first off, you got to get the core values in place. Get the team bought in on the core values, then run how they are interacting, run how they are working through those core values and see if they check them off. If they're probably, again, you just close your eyes and thought of that person, they're probably not. Okay, so you got to get them on board, get them in line with the core values, because those are the rules we play by. I mean, that's what we do as an organization. So first off, if you don't have them in place, it's a must. I mean, Bill,
Yeah.
Do you think a business can operate and grow and get better without core values?
Yeah, I think you could have a business that doesn't have them. You can kick it down the road a little bit. I mean, you're not going to have an enterprise. You're not going to have a business that you probably are crazy about going to work for. I mean, it's a business and it's a job probably is what it's looking like. So I think you can have them. You can have a job without and a business without them, but I think it's not going to be nearly as successful. And the engagement and the stability of the team is going to be drastically reduced. You know, one thing I'll say, Jared, I think is really interesting is if you don't have them, it's not rocket science. You know, try to look at, I mean, a real simple exercise. Sometimes we walk this through with our clients is sit down and picture out if you could build a whole team, whole stable full of this person. What is it that they do? What do they bring to the table? What attributes do they have that you look at and say, I want that in every single team member? Guess what? All of a sudden you start seeing these core values populate pretty quickly just by looking internally at what you got and what you love about certain members of your team. It's not overly complicated. It needs to be your own. But again, and you don't have to do it. I get it, but I think you'll be worse off if you don't.
Yeah, you will. And you hit it before, is it gives your team member a way to I want to say self-police, but call each other out. I've been called out at our business on our core values, you know, and I love it. You know, at the time I was caught off guard, like, whoa, somebody's telling me I'm not doing something right. And then 2 seconds later, I'm like, they're exactly right. You know, so get back in line, live by our core values. That's how it works. Number 4, vision. So to me, vision, I'm not going to lie, Bill, I always got this confused with like the mission.
Yeah.
I always thought mission, vision, you know, the same thing, right? And the way I see it now, Bill, tell me if you see it differently, but mission is, like we said, why you do what you do. The vision is more of where are you going as a business? You know, this is why you do what you do, but where are you going as a business? So talk about that, Bill. Importance of vision.
I think you're exactly right. There people tend to get those kind of mixed up, and it's easy to understand why. But again, we've kind of talked about the foundational concept of mission and core values. Vision is something we never had, to be honest. You know, we really never had a vision, and accordingly, we never communicated to the team where we were going. And I'll never forget that we went up to a super awesome accounting consulting group that we love to work with. First time we ever met with them, and we went there and we're like, okay, guys, we need to talk about our partner compensation structure. And they're like, okay. And they talked a little bit, and they said, no, we don't need to talk about partner compensation structure. We don't need to talk about team members. We need to figure out where you're going. You know, we need to have a visioning session. And it totally blew us away. And, you know, it was just some simple exercises that they walked us through, you know, about what do we want to be? What do we want to do? You know, what do we want to create? Just other examples like that, that when we really sat down as a partner group, you and I, it became crystal clear that you and I saw the world the same way. We just had never had a dialogue around it. And so, you know, we had no idea where each other's heads were about where we wanted to go. And consequently, our team didn't either. And so I think it stalled us out. To be honest, probably we lost, of our 5 years, Jared, I'd say we probably lost 2.5 to 2.5, probably by not having proper visioning and charting that course. Do you agree with that?
100%. Yeah. I mean, you've got to have a vision in place because the team, and like you said, you have to communicate it to the team too, right? I mean, because let's just say you and I, we come up with a vision, we got it in our heads about where we're going to go. The team has no idea. You know, what's 1 year, what's 3 years, what's 5 years look like for Duckett Lad? Where are we going? Because the team wants to know where we're going, but more importantly, if we start hitting those goals about it's point B is your vision, and you're at point A, and are you making progress to that point B? Are you getting from point A to point B? If so, that's going to fire your team up. You know, I mean, but if the team doesn't know the vision, and I'm going to say they're just working, and every day they don't know if they're getting better, they don't know if we're moving towards whatever point B looks like because they don't know. It's hard to get fired up. You know, it's hard. And then, you know, the team just, it's kind of the fear of the unknown. Like, where are we going? I have no idea. So you kind of, team members just don't have that complete buy-in. So you've got to come up with a vision, and then come up with that leadership team. At the leadership team, at your high level, think of your leadership positions. Think of the people in leadership positions at your practice, let's say right now. Come up with that vision. Where do you want to take it? Tell your team, and then they'll get complete clarity on what they're doing and where you're going as a practice.
Yeah, a great resource there is listen to the podcast we did with Alex Judd.
Yeah.
He's a master of that, talking about vision. Grew up under Dave Ramsey, who preached that. But when you think about it, it's a comprehensive system. You can hopefully start to see how all this comes together. You have that growth mindset. So now you're ready to tackle these challenges. Then you have a compelling why, a purpose, a reason for existence. This is why we do what we do. You have core values that everything that you do is kind of filtered through those. Every person you hire, you're hiring, you're firing, your evaluation, all that's done through there. And now you have a compelling destination you're going to. That is what gets engagement from team members. And honestly, guys, that is what the vast majority of businesses don't have. Most businesses are doing exactly what we did for 10 years and a couple years as Duckett Lab, which is just work. Let's work. We'll figure it out when we get there. It creates confusion. There's no clarity in there for people, but a compelling vision of exactly where you're going. And what's really cool with us too, Jared, is it started out where as a leadership team, it was created at the leadership team level. As we've grown and as other team members have developed that that growth mindset as well, guess what? We've brought other team members into that process. And now we have a team that's bought in, that's helping us chart that vision of where we're going, and which is continually evolving. And that gets exciting. That's where you get that total engagement from your team, start to finish.
Yeah. People want to see progress. Team members come to work for a reason, their why, but they want to see progress and they want to know what they're going towards. And once they see that and it becomes ultra clear, and you gain that clarity, as Alex Judd always says, it so much fires people up as you see them getting closer to that, I'm going to say, point B.
You bet.
All right, Bill, I'm going to say A+ players. And what I mean by that is team members.
Yeah.
The team members, are everything. And right there at now as a practice owner, you're probably thinking, I agree 100%. I need I've got some really good team members, or I need some really good team members. And you're exactly right, because in any sort of business, if you have, I'm going to use a Dave Ramsey term, thoroughbreds, and just all-stars working with you. I'm not going to say for you, working with you. It makes everybody's life better. Yeah. And it just propels the business forward more and more. So hit on the team, Bill.
This one is one of the more important ones, but it's also probably the very toughest one you'll ever tackle here. And the reason it is, and another reason I tell dentists I like working with you guys, is because dentists are a lot like accountants. We like stability. We don't like to ruffle feathers. We don't like conflict. We're conflict averse. That's just the way we are. And that's the way dentists are. Most dentists we work with. And as such, we tend to kind of get along and just kind of move on down the road and just kind of take what we're given and not really do anything about it. And it took us a long time to figure this out, Jared. And it's the process that's constantly evolving. But, if you don't have the right team members, in other words, if you have, let's say you have a great team and you have one person, and it seems like almost everybody has that one person, and you allow them to get by with things, what that's called is sanction incompetence, or being sanctioning a jerk.
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest killers of employee morale, and it's one of the biggest killers of your culture that you'll ever find. And if you don't deal with these things and address them and make the tough decisions that are going to make your team members say, thank you, finally, what took you so long? Then those team members that are good are going to leave, and you're going to be left with the ones that aren't good. And that is the world's worst case scenario. and that will throw your brakes on, and that will make your life miserable. And it happens, and we've seen it.
Yeah. So yeah, like you just said, not only as the business owner, do you see that individual as maybe not an ideal team member? Your team members see that as well, and they're thinking the same thing. And Bill, I remember, again, going back almost 5 years or whenever that first EntreLeadership
Yeah.
Summit, and Patrick Lencioni. I'm sure a lot of you, listeners right now know of Lencioni. If you don't, Google him. But one of the books I think he presented that year, but one of the books that we heard about there was the Ideal Team Player.
Yeah.
Just a very short, and Lencioni writes in like a fable style, way, and really just the ideal team player and that humble, hungry, people smart aspect of a team member. It's just so brilliant how these simple concepts are just so enlightening. And what I encourage you to do right now is, if you're thinking, man, I don't have all ideal team members or A+ team members, is read through that book and
Yeah.
read through them and look at those 3 traits: humble, hungry, and people smart. And it's so easy. Don't get me wrong. You're going to read the book, and there's going to be one individual that sticks out that maybe they're talking about to a degree on whatever traits they have. And it's so easy to say, yes, I agree. There is an individual or two that's not an ideal team player. Okay. And it's so easy to just say, but they've been here forever and there's nothing I'm going to do about it. And I'm going to keep on going because you know what? They've been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
But guess what? The hard decisions in your business sometimes propel you the farthest forward. And by making a tough decision, I'm not saying right now, go fire all your people. What I'm saying is identify the individuals that aren't ideal team players. Sometimes you have to make a tough decision, because once you, I'm going to say, remove that individual, just like a pot of soup. I talk in analogies here, but you put a bad, ingredient in a pot of soup, it's going to mess the whole soup up, right? It's really hard to take that out, but sometimes you're going to have to take it out in order to make everything better, because then it's going to propel everything forward.
Yeah, I think, and again, here's how things start to come together. We reread that Ideal Team Player book. Absolutely loved it. Actually, we had core values that were kind of in line with the humble, hungry, people smart. So we kind of incorporated those into our core values, among others. When we finally started understanding that and how we use core values again, what did we do? We started evaluating based upon core values. When we started doing that, what do you think we found, Jared? We found people who did not meet those core values. And you know what we tried to do? Well, we tried to slam it into the box and say, well, I mean, close enough. I mean, this person's great. This person, and one of the things that happened that we discover, and again, we're trying to give tips here that we've learned, was we kind of recognize this. A consultant of ours that works with us recognized this and gave us a book called Necessary Endings. And that's another book. If you have people who you're really struggling with trying to figure out how they fit in, or know that they don't fit in, and it's time to make a move, because that what got you here is not going to get you there, so to speak. Sometimes you just need to understand or internalize how that works, and the psychological aspects of it. And again, Necessary Endings is a book by Dr. Henry Cloud that I would highly recommend. Go read it. I think it's going to change your perspective on how you look at these things. And what's funny, Jared, is most of the time when this happens, it works out best for both sides.
For sure.
And that's the thing that it's really hard to say. So get the right team members, evaluate them accordingly. If they're not the right team members, it's always better to make that move sooner rather than later. And get your team engaged, because what you don't want to do is have, like I said, your good team members get frustrated and they're the ones that leave. That's where you start having major problems.
Yeah, and it's so funny how these all correlate together, because in order to get the right team members, you have to attract the right team members. And you can attract the right team members by having good team members already, but also just looking at some of these points, having a solid mission in place.
Yeah.
Having core values in place, having a vision in place. Because guess what? Sitting down with an ideal team player, a prospective ideal team player, and sitting down with them and saying, you know what, at our practice, we have a growth mindset, and this is what we do. And at our practice, this is why we do what we do. And guess what? These are our core values. These are the rules we live by. And this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. you see how that's going to fire up that ideal team member?
Yeah.
You're going to be like, heck yeah, I want to work at this place. This place is awesome.
Yeah.
As
And
opposed to the contrary, if you don't have those in place, that person might be like, I don't know,
and one last concept there too is the more you are dialed in on your mission, your core values, your vision, people who are out of alignment to that, if everybody else is in alignment and you get that one person, that person starts to stand out like a sore thumb. And the funny thing is a lot of times they'll opt out, because they'll realize that, hey, this isn't what I want, and that's okay. We can still be friends, and you wish them well on the next phase of their journey, but it's just not going to be with your practice. And we saw that happen. And, it's been something that's been enlightening. But when you have all those team members dialed into your mission, your purpose, your core values, your vision, it's a fun, exciting thing to watch.
Yeah, I agree. Those are the first 5, guys. Again, we've got 10 of these. Those are the first 5. We're going to cut this episode off here, but we're going to pick the next 5 up. But I just want to recap this again, and I kind of just did. So if you've been jotting down notes, jot down this: growth mindset, mission, core values, a vision, and then A+ team members. Those 5 things. Now we've got 5 more. We're going to hit it on the next episode, but those 5, along with the next 5, are really what has allowed us to get where we are today. And those are big improvements and things we've changed and implemented that allows us to really, again, Bill, I can't believe it's been 5 years, but to really, just improve our firm and get better every single day. Again, we don't have it all figured out, but we're constantly trying to get better and better and better. As you said, Bill, what'd you say? Every day, try to be the best version of yourself. Just
a better version than you were the day before. Simple as that.
So guys, appreciate you joining in. Again, I hope you got a nugget or something out of that. If you have questions, definitely let us know. But tune into the next episode as well, as we'll hit on the next 5 and hopefully get you guys some good information. So we appreciate you joining in. We'll talk to you guys soon. We'll see you.